Hello and welcome to another grand edition of Paragon. I invite you today to a nice morning, evening, or even a good afternoon. Alright. So, today I'm going to show you guys my main howitzer build. It is a complete 40-40 deck, and you can see some of the stats this deck contains right there. Right now I'm about 70% wins on Howitzer whenever I play as him, and my KD is about 2.5. The times that I have died, I just get too overzealous and want to keep charging the enemy, or I try and just charge at a tower when nobody's there, and then I get bombarded with all the other people killing me and stuff. So one of the main things I did realize that's always good with Howitzer is always making sure his power tokens are always in play. Meaning that, let's say if you have just 1 point to spare but you can't buy any of your higher point cards down here, go ahead and just add one of these in an empty slot. So it's good to have at least 3, and that really goes for any attack damage carry. I haven't really noticed much of a difference with health tokens, really. It's health isn't really big for starting out with Howitzer, but definitely cast tokens. So another thing you'll notice is I got a health potion, a mana potion, scout's ward, and then a healer's token. So the order this plays out is I will grab the health potion, use that for a couple of rounds, and then once I get, let's say, an extra point, I'll discard the health token and I'll grab a healer token, because it's basically the same thing. I mean, this gives you 2.8 every second, while this gives you let's see, 6 for 15 seconds straight, but then you have 2 charges. Well, this gives you that constant 2.8. So you can only use this twice, so it's basically like upgrading. And if you're near a tower, that actually helps a lot, because you're just healing up. Mana potions I barely use, but I keep that there just in case I feel like I need more mana, which with the build that I have here, you won't run out of mana at all. If you're running out of mana, you need to land your hits better, and you need to land everything better. Scout's ward, same thing. I do with a health potion. It's just for upgrade purposes. I'll grab a Scout's ward, and when I have maybe 2 or 3 extra points, I'll go ahead and grab a Sage's ward. So that leads me into the rest of the deck here. So these are the main cards that you're going to end with. It's Madstone, Burn Blood Powder, Burst Engine, Micro Nuke, and Wind Carver Blade. So those 6 cards are the cards you're going to end with. And once again, the upgrading Scout's Ward will get you Sage's Ward, and then I have a tuned barrier in here as an extra thing. So I'll go into the beginning cards you should get. Alright, so the beginning cards you should get all depend on where you're going to lane and what the opponent has as their team. So for example, if you are randomly selected to go left lane, go ahead and get Burn Blood Powder. This gives you attack speed, gives you a little mana regen, and then power. And then the fully upgraded bonus is mana regen. So that's definitely a left lane card if you are on left lane, but Howitzer is a mid laner, so this card is also good to start off in mid lane because you get speed, you get power and mana. And from what I've been facing in mid lane, it's usually Gideon, Gadget, Not a lot of Bellicas. But that's really all that I've faced mid lane so far. And this card usually trumps them because they don't really go for attack speed. Those characters normally don't need attack speed, or they just focus on their abilities. And with the attack speed on this, you can pretty much, you don't have to worry about losing mana or having 0 mana. You can just use your basic attack. Next card that could be a good starter is the Madstone Gem and 1 Scout's Ward. This, if you're in mid lane, that's definitely the better card to get, because this gives you the 12 attack already from the get-go, and then you got a little Scout's Ward in case you're going against a Kalari, Chimera, or a really good jungler. And that's really all that I would really get for starting off. Sage's Ward is not really the best. I mean, unless you're going against a really good, I guess, gank squad. I mean, you can get one of these to start off with. That way you have, let's say if you're going against Kalari, Chimera, and a good Grux, something like a good weird combo like that. This is good to start off with, but it doesn't really give you a good presence for mid lane. These two right here will give you the good presence because you have attack, and then you have attack speed and a little mana regen, so you're constantly, you know, attacking mid lane. And if you want to grab Madstone and an extra cast token, that already gives you, I believe, 18 power, which is the strongest you can be in the beginning of the game. Alright, so once you grab, you know, these cards, basically you got to upgrade them. So what I do is I throw in 3, you know, I just balance that out. Just add another minor cast there. I don't believe these have any differences. I believe they're going to fix that later on down the road. We'll leave it at that. So upgrading this is a must from the very beginning because it gives you attack speed, which I think is really good for Howitzer and the way I play as well. Next, if you, let's say, have these two already, I go ahead and I throw in another mana regen in there, and I notice once I get this extra chrono in here, then I do tend to have enough mana to stay out there longer, and I'm not really running out of mana. Another card in here is Vicious Kinetic. I usually get this around mid game. It's an expensive card to put in there for points, of course, but it definitely has more value towards mid game. The early game, not so much because it's expensive. You want to be, you know, constantly adding more stuff to your cards, or sorry, your deck. And then another strike token that gives me, I believe, around 12 points. So that's what you do with that. Burst Engine is an early option, and I say option because you can switch things around with this deck. But for the upgrades, you get 12 power at the end. And I leave this kind of like on the cheap side, so I have 2 level 1 powers or minor strikes and 1 major cast. This is good because it has mana regen. So once again, with this deck, you're not really going to run out of mana. If you're running out of mana with this deck, you just need to land your attacks a little better. But these 3 cards really turn the tides right here because you have your speed, mana regen, you're basically dishing out a whole bunch of attack, punishing the enemy, and if you get a chance to combo with either a, let's say, a Gideon or maybe even Aurora. I've noticed if Gideon throws his ultimate on top of somebody, and you just start, you know, sending out all your attacks, starting off with your R1, then maybe with your square, that, you know, whoever's getting hit by that ultimate is more than likely at 10 points of health by the end of that. Or at least, you know, you knock out the whole team. So these 2 cards are also optional, but I do notice that it's very effective. As you see, Micro Nuke only has 3 major cast tokens. I don't add the minor wounds in here at all to increase the critical chance, because I have noticed that just getting this card once, you could attack maybe 10 times and you will see a critical attack. So I think 4%, they really boosted the critical chances in this game. They made it a lot more, I guess a lot more consistent since the last update. You definitely see critical chances pop up more, even with 3%. So this is a card you want to get early game. So basically you can start with Madstone, Burn Blood Powder, and then you can choose. Alright, do I need more power? Do I need more mana? If you need more power, grab the micro nuke, but I won't recommend upgrading it right away. I would recommend maybe either getting another micro nuke or just going with a burst engine. That way you kind of start balancing out how much power you're dishing out constantly. And there is an optional card. You can swap this card out for anything depending on play style. But I have noticed that with the Wind Carver Blade, I have been winning a lot more. I used to have, let's see if I can find it here. Yep, I used to have Adamant Edge, and I just wasn't really feeling the win-loss ratio. I was probably like less than 50. And since I've added the Wind Carver Blade, I've lost over 1,000 pounds. No, I'm just kidding. Since I've added the Wind Carver Blade, my win to loss ratio has increased. I'm winning a lot more games because I'm able to attack even if I don't have mana. So once again, this is a good early card to get, but I normally get this card depending on if we are losing or depending on if the enemy is very elusive. That way I can just use my basic attack in between my cooldowns a lot better. Let's see, if you want to swap out this Wind Carver, make sure that it's all level 3 cards. Of course, that's one thing. Let's see. I mean, Adamant Edge is good. You could even go an extra micro nuke, because at that point you'd be about at 12% critical chance, so you will see it a little bit more. But I would recommend Wind Carver. So that's really about it. You want to follow this guideline. It does equal 60 points. Sage's Ward. So the thing with Sage's Ward is I always try to get it early game. Never really mid game. Never really late game either. If I'm getting it late game, it's almost pointless unless I'm gonna ward or prime, because my team is completely not working together. So it's up to me to, spend the 3 points, put a ward on or prime, go back to base, get rid of it, all that stuff. Alright, so the reason why I have Tuned Barrier in here is because, let's say I'm 1-5, or let's say the entire team I'm in, they don't really have anyone that can take a hit, or there's a tower that is really low health and they just need someone to go out there and take out that tower. So what I do is I add 3 greater healths in here, and this gives me 50 health already, so that's 500 health. And the 4 ability armor plus the 8 ability armor gives me 12, and I think that's enough to pretty much take one ultimate from anybody and have enough time to run away, or have enough time to counter-attack that and take them out instead. Because a lot of people from the beginning would be like, whoa, what the heck, like Howitzer can take these hits, and that's like a little surprise thing. So this is definitely a mid to late game card, and I call it that because you do not get this early at all. It's a waste of time to turn Howitzer into a tank in the beginning. Very much a waste, because he's very powerful already. So basically you want these 5 cards already, and let's say you have Sage's Ward and there's a tower that's already weak. Boom, sell your ward, suit up with this Tuned Barrier, go ahead and tank the tower and kill everybody that you can, And that's it. Then you can just sell this card because that's already 12 and grab your last card, which is Windcarver Blade. Or once again, you can swap this out for a micro nuke, meaning that these 12-point cards right here you can get towards the end, especially if you have Tuned Barrier. So just to say that one more time, you would get Tuned Barrier, and let's say you're done using it, sell it and grab your last 12-point card. And yeah, that method has won more games for me, and that's really about it. Ultimate attacks pretty much get enemies really low or instantly kill them if I'm with the right team that has enough stop power. And that's it. That's Howitzer's build. There's other builds out there, but I see this one being the better of the builds, especially adding that speed in there. Got about 3 cards that add speed. The critical chance, all you need is 8% to see it. And for example, if you use your square attack on a wave of minions, or if you use your square attack in the jungle, it's an instant, like, you kill those minions, boom, that's it. So yeah, that is the Howitzer build, and yeah, good luck out there. If this video has worked for you, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys out there. Peace.